Welcome back to the Explainer. So let's just jump right into it. 88.8%. That's a massive number, right? Well, when we look at recent data from the Russian-Ukrainian war, a staggering 88.8% of all recorded cyber incidents were DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service. I mean, that is just a mind-blowing volume. It really highlights the sheer overwhelming scale of modern cyber warfare. Today, we're going to unpack a super fascinating academic paper from Vinnytsia National Technical University. It details exactly how chaotic volunteer IT armies are literally being transformed into highly managed, structured military forces. Basically, we're talking about moving from a totally disorganized digital frontline to a system of absolute control. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap today covers modern cyber warfare's rise, defining the cyber arsenal, the seven-stage operation blueprint, managing the cyber army, tactics for cyber operations, and finally, regulating the digital battlefield. All right, Section 1, Modern Cyber Warfare's Rise. To really understand this surge, researchers use the Russian-Ukrainian war as their primary case study to observe these operations in real time. Just look at this data processed by CERT-UA, that's Ukraine's Computer Emergency Response Team. In 2022, they handled over 2,194 powerful cyber attacks. And then, in just the first quarter of 2023 alone, 700 attacks. We are talking about a massive, sustained volume of digital strikes happening constantly in modern conflict zones. But you gotta wonder, who's actually carrying out these thousands of attacks? Well, a lot of it has been driven by massive volunteer cyber movements. But here's the catch. Relying on volunteers creates a huge organizational headache. You've got varying IT skills, a total lack of central management, poor communication, and inevitably decreasing motivation over time. Without proper management, all that initial enthusiasm, it just leads to burnout and highly inefficient operations. Moving on to Section 2, defining the cyber arsenal. Before we can figure out how to organize a digital army, we really need to set a baseline. The absolute crucial point here is understanding what actually constitutes an attack. A cyber attack is defined as intentional actions in cyberspace aimed at violating the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of electronic information resources. Notice that word, intentional. We're not talking about someone accidentally tripping over a power cord and crashing a server. This is a highly intentional, targeted strike on infrastructure meant to disrupt or destroy. And what about the tools used to execute these strikes? Well, those are cyber weapons. As defined here, it's software and/or hardware created to cause damage to an adversary and obtain a military advantage. I think this really highlights how lines of code and computer scripts are now functioning as literal weaponry on the modern battlefield. It's wild to think about. Section 3, the seven-stage operation blueprint. Now, this is where the paper gets incredibly practical. And this brilliantly illustrates how a cyber operation doesn't just happen randomly. It follows a highly structured, military-style kill chain spanning 7 distinct phases. It starts with the recruitment and training of personnel, then moves right into studying the enemy's resources and gathering specific data about the target. From there, the team prepares the software, implements the actual attack, checks the results, and finally closes the whole loop with a feedback stage to improve the next operation. It's a complete, start-to-finish life cycle. To make this even more digestible, the researchers distill this whole thing down into a 5-step system functioning algorithm. Think of this as your operational flowchart. Step 1, select the target. Step 2, search the object to map its vulnerabilities. Step 3, choose the specific attack method. Step 4, execute the cyber operation. And Step 5, check the results. It's a highly methodical, step-by-step procedure designed to guarantee efficiency. Section 4, managing the cyber army.
So the core thesis of this paper answers a really massive question. How exactly do we overlay traditional, structured corporate management principles onto this kill chain to solve the chaos of volunteer groups? It literally maps classic business concepts directly onto digital warfare. If you look at this matrix, notice how standard management functions like planning, organization, control, and motivation link directly to the different stages of an attack. Motivation maps to the feedback stage, effectively acting as the Army's HR department. Control maps to checking the results, which, is basically quality assurance. They are literally treating cyber warfare like a structured corporate enterprise.
And just like any corporation, you need an organizational chart to outline the specific personnel roles required to make this whole machine work. At the top, you have the Cyber Operations Organizer. That's basically your CEO. Then you've got activist group leaders managing the teams. You have specialized divisions for data collection and reconnaissance, software developers and testers, and an attack verification group. Structured delegation like this is exactly how you solve that chaos problem we talked about earlier. This structure ultimately builds a highly effective workforce by utilizing two very different groups. On one side, you have your ordinary activists. These are passionate volunteers who might not have any specialized IT knowledge, but they provide massive manpower for executing coordinated strikes. On the other side, you have the IT professionals. These are the developers, the testers, and the instruction organizers who are actually building the specialized tools. Good management is simply the bridge that connects the highly skilled with the highly motivated. All right, Section 5, Tactics for Cyber Operations. So we've got our framework, and we've got our managed personnel. But what do these coordinated attacks actually look like in the wild? Well, the modern digital arsenal is incredibly varied and highly destructive. Attack vectors range from those DDoS attacks that just totally overwhelm servers to website defacement, which is huge for psychological impact. Then you've got the highly technical strikes like XSS, that's cross-site scripting, and SQL injections to steal databases. And of course, you have your Trojans, viruses, and good old-fashioned social engineering. It is a diverse toolkit specifically designed to exploit literally every possible vulnerability. Connecting these technical weapons to their real-world impact is super important. It reveals that an SQL injection isn't just some bad code. Its real consequence is giving an enemy access to strategic military databases. A deface attack creates immediate psychological influence and public panic. And hey, remember that 88.8% statistic from our very first point? That massive volume of DDoS attacks translates directly into massive service disruption, crippling financial systems and state infrastructure right when they need it most. Section 6, Regulating the Digital Battlefield. As we zoom out from the actual mechanics of these attacks, we really have to look at the broader, global implications here. I want to draw your attention to this really powerful quote from the paper. Conducting cyber operations must have both a legal and an ethical basis, despite the popular saying, in war, any means is useful. I think this perfectly captures the deep tension we're facing. On one hand, we have these incredibly effective, low-cost digital weapons. But on the other, there is an absolute critical need to ensure compliance with international humanitarian principles and to protect civilian populations from total systemic collapse. Which leaves us with a pretty massive question for the future. As outlined by frameworks like the Tallinn Manual 2.0, how exactly will international law adapt to regulate these massive, decentralized, volunteer-driven cyber armies? I mean, when everyday citizens can be managed into a highly coordinated military force right from their laptops, the traditional rules of engagement are completely rewritten. So, what does this all mean for the future of warfare? Something to think about. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.